Hey guys, I'm super excited to introduce you to Candice Batts, Candy as I know her. Candice and I actually met a few years back when she hired me. She was doing event planning for an entrepreneurial organization, and they had an event in Austin, and I was fortunate enough to be selected to be their speaker. And she and I just hit it off. I mean, she has one of these personalities that is so infectious. She is just one of the hardest working individuals I know. She has, done so many things with her career. She's about to embark on a new path. I'm super excited for her and what she's going to be doing here in the next little bit with her career. But, all the while that she was putting all this time, energy, and effort in, she was caring for her ailing father. And as a caregiver, full-time caregiver, really, she inspires. And now she has been able to take that experience to want to carry it forward and give back and create some ripples for other caregivers that are out there. Her energy, her enthusiasm, just who she is at the core is inspirational. And so I'm so grateful she decided to join the Ripple Effect podcast. So with no further ado, let's jump into the interview with Candice Batts. I am super excited to have Candice Batts join me for the Ripple Effect podcast. Candy, as I know her, she and I have gone way back. We have been great supporters of one another for so many years, and I'm just thrilled that you agreed to join me for the podcast today. So thank you. Welcome to the Ripple Effect podcast.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here.
So, I said in our intro a little bit about how you and I connected. You had brought me in for an event that you were leading here in Austin. You'd come in from New York to be able to do that. And we just hit it off. You have certain people that just come into your life that you just have instant chemistry with. And
Definitely.
you are one of those people, right? So it's just been so great to connect with you and stay friends. And I've been so proud of where you are in terms of your journey for both your career and your entrepreneurial aspects, and of course just getting to see the strength that you've had over these years caring for your father. That's something we definitely want to dive into. But I'm a big believer in the origin story, so I want to ask you how you became you.
I think I'm still trying to figure that out. I mean,
aren't we all?
Honest,
Yeah.
You always ask those good questions, thought provoking. But yeah, I'm just trying to still figure that out. Professionally, I started out in like way back in the day in retail. I remember my mom. I wanted to work because I wanted money, like any other teenager.
Good motivation, yeah.
Yeah. And my parents were like, "We don't want you to work. You want to go to school and just study." And I said, "I want to work. I can do both." And
Yeah.
I figured out a way and snuck behind their backs,
You get the job.
and got a job at Sears.
Yeah.
And from there, I kind of naturally started working with people.
Yeah.
I guess because I started off in retail, and I always call it the ground floor of
Yeah.
customer service. I mean, because if you can't take someone saying I want a refund or a disgruntled customer
Yeah.
face to face, how can you handle it on the phone when you're doing phone service?
Yeah.
Or how do you handle it in as an entrepreneur?
That's right. Absolutely.
So
Well, you and I have that in common. So I started in retail as well. I worked at TJ Maxx, and I had a knack for it, right? Which was kind of interesting because I'm introverted and shy by nature. And so by getting a job that forced me to be in front of customers really sort of helped kind of, become, like you said, the perfect training ground, because at retail, you get everything thrown at you, right? A lot of disgruntled customers, people trying to scam the store, somewhere else they're trying to bring in. And I rose through the ranks pretty quickly, and I remember it was the perfect job for high school because it just worked around my schedule, and it was a great opportunity. But it was such a powerful, learning lab for me to figure out and how to connect with people and sort of adapt to situations, because every day was uniquely different.
Definitely. Yeah.
So what did that job teach you that you think, what's one lesson maybe that you pulled out of the retail space that you still, utilize today? I'm throwing a ripple question at you right off the bat. So I'm going to make you work today. So,
well, I'll say from looking back, I'll say that, that sales is not about getting the customer not only about getting the customer to buy the
Yeah.
product. I want to say it's definitely about, you do want the customer to buy.
Eventually, yes, that's important.
But it's not the only thing. It's about the relationships, you
Yeah.
know. And I mean, I was 17 years old and I had regular customers in the children's department at Sears because their granddaughter was having Easter and they wanted to go see Candace to help
Yeah.
pick out an Easter,
Oh, that's awesome.
dress,
Yep.
and then they had to come and show the pictures when they came to pick up the, the next holiday or the next celebration they were doing, having. So definitely about, and then I also have to say, I was also very good at getting credit cards, which is how I made the link.
Yeah.
My manager kept saying, wow, you're opening up credit cards, at the register quickly,
Yep.
but it wasn't because I was constantly asking. I mean, I was, but it was because I knew the right time after having a relationship with them. Like, you should get a credit card. This
Yeah.
purchase is big, and just having that discussion, and it wasn't like a hard sale. So
Yeah. No, that's good. And I mean that alone teaches you a lot, right? To be able to identify the opportunity, maybe present the offer, but do it in a way that people are like, oh yeah, that totally makes sense. Let me do that, right? Sign up for
yeah.
the credit card, and then you get did you get any accolades because of that that special gift that you had?
Well, I would say just I always was the top credit card sales person. And that, they had me working on specific shifts because of the customers that came
Yeah.
in. If they came in, where's Candace? Oh, she's
Yeah.
off today. What do you mean she's off? What do
She's
you mean
not
she
allowed to
has a
be off. I
life?
came to see her.
Yeah. And that really carried me all the way because after that, I went into wealth management
Okay.
and worked for various, big banks, as they say.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I started off as a financial advisor, trying to build my own business. I guess
Uh-huh.
that was a little bit of the entrepreneurial part of me coming out early on. And then quickly came to realize, okay, I wasn't ready for that, and went into working under an advisor and helping them build their business.
Yeah.
Which was also another muscle of mine that, was kind of flex there.
Yeah.
And that I love helping entrepreneurs. So,
Yeah.
so,
Yep.
and in that, I was able to help with clients, especially during the big recession, the last big recession.
Yep.
I remember being in the office when Lehman crashed and literally seeing the looks on people's faces of tears. But
Yeah.
still, we held on to our clients, and because we had built strong relationships with them, and we were mourning together. We were
Yeah.
protecting together. We weren't in it alone.
Yeah.
So
So what caused you to make the shift? Because when you and I met, you were you were building efforts towards kind of meeting planning and sort of event management. And I got to say, I've worked with hundreds of event managers and meeting planners around the country, and you are the most communicative, and you are the most sincerely interested in the topic that I was presenting on, making sure it was the best experience for me as well as the audience. And the thing that I really admired about you, even before we met face to face, was just how assertive and caring you were about the entire process. Just it was really stood out, and certainly is one of your strengths that I've come to know is like just part of your DNA. But
thank you.
how did you make that transition? Because it sounds like when you realized you don't want to be a financial planner, but you were really good at supporting that effort, right? You were sort of getting, your training wheels at that point, kind of figuring out how to organize and assemble the efforts on behalf of someone else. And then you kind of took it, out to, help other companies and organizations throw their own, conferences and events, right?
Yeah, yeah. And thank you, by the way.
Sure.
I think when there was a certain point when I was helping the entrepreneur build the business, we had to start building it through events.
Yeah.
And we were doing client appreciation events, and we were partnering with the overall corporate structure. Like if they're holding a national event, connecting the advisor or a group of advisors with those events as well. And I started to kind of like that aspect of things more than the actual financial. I never really, to be honest, I was actually recruited out of retail right into finance.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so I was like a stock supervisor, and then the next day I was like, okay, I'm studying for my Series 7.
Yeah.
And he's like, no, the gentleman that recruited me was like, no, you're good. This is exactly, this is exactly what we need. It's someone outgoing. But anyways, I just started, and then even back when I was starting to do financial planning, no one knew my name. Who knew that I was becoming who knew I passed all these exams? I had to tell everyone. So I had dinners, I had wine events, and then I had to get out there and network. So I was doing Costco. I remember we'd stand at Costco and hand out our business cards, and we did fish bowl. I was actually one of the best fish bowlers. And I did not have that many clients, but I had way more fish bowls than everyone. And I actually started negotiating how to I just was so good at getting leads. But when I started to think about what do I really want to do with my life, I said, well, I'm really good at this, and this is what events. Okay, is there an event business, and kind of just moved into that space that way.
Well, you're definitely gifted at it. I tell you, I mean, it was obvious. And, since I've, gotten to know you and we've struck up this friendship, I mean, your ability to sort of connect the dots in a way that I think a lot of people don't necessarily see, so that you can create the best possible experience is, I mean, that's a talent. And I mean, it really is. I have a good friend that owns a events company here in town, and I had been at an event with her, kind of a social event. And I was telling her about you. And I said, I wish you lived in Austin, because the two of you would be dynamic duos. And she's done it, where she went from, sort of, bar mitzvahs and, wedding planning into, full on corporate events. And her company is huge now, and it's really taken off. But she has that same drive and enthusiasm. And it does take a special person, because as you and I both know, some things when you do events just don't go as they're supposed to. And so you have to be extremely adaptable. You got to have thick skin. That, that time in retail probably really served you there. But even with us, I remember at the event we did for Capital Factory, we were having some struggles with audio visual. And you made me calm, because it was like, look, we're going to get it figured out. It's not a problem. Don't worry about it. You just chill over there, and I'm going to get this taken care of. And you did. It was like awesome. So you have superpowers that you don't even recognize that you have, I think. So
thank you. People always say, like, how can the world could become rolling, or like, as they would say at an event, and I'm usually the one like, okay, well, I'm like usually the most calm.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's not always the case outside of events. I will say that. But just something weird happens,
Yeah. Well, I mean, it puts anybody that's working with you, certainly at ease, and it actually shows a level of professionalism that, you don't often see. I've seen, I did an event in Vegas one time, and I think this lady literally may have just ended her career in the meeting planning space, because things had not gone well. And she just had a legitimate meltdown right there in front of the client. It was like, hey, I'm good. It was another audio visual issue that they were having relative to the hotel that they were hosting it at. And, everything like just continued to get worse. And this lady was like losing it. And I'm like, look, it's okay. I can stand up on stage and I can just talk. And, oh my God, no, you can't do that. This audience won't take for it. I'm like, well, what are they going to do? Throw me out? I'm here already.
Right.
So, you just go get like a Mai Tai or, a couple shots of tequila, and I got this. And I remember coming off the stage and she's like, holy crap, how did you do that? I'm like, well, mainly I just, was trying to protect you from, harming yourself by having some sort of breakdown. But, you in that you're a calm in the storm for, not only the organizing, the organization that's paying you, but also for anybody that's, there to speak or support the event. So I think you've got a skill set for sure.
Thank you. Thank you.
Well, so let's switch gears for a second. So one of the things that you really have worked, I really admire how over the last several years, you've been pulling double duty, and we talked about wanting to highlight sort of your caregiving duties, because you've got a lot of lessons that you've learned, and you were an inspiration to me in terms of how you cared for your dad, and the ups and downs of caring for our parents or our grandparents as they get a little bit older. It's a lot of challenges. It's emotionally taxing. And you and I remember I was at an event in New Mexico, and I was at a park just to kind of decompress after speaking. And you and I got on a call, and all the stuff you were dealing with at the time, nobody would ever know it, because your just attitude and your enthusiasm, and like, hey, look, if I don't do it, nobody's going to do it. So I got to do it. And might as well do it with a good attitude, was really impressive. Right. But, maybe walk us through, or, the audience a little bit through kind of your caregiving journey, and maybe some of the lessons you learned in doing what you've done.
I think, well, in looking back, I realized I started being a caregiver much earlier than when I always say when my mother passed away.
Yeah.
But it was really when my parents got sick in general.
Yeah.
And so I just remember working in Manhattan and getting calls, and like, I have no idea how I did it, like racing down. My parents live about 45 minutes without traffic from Manhattan.
Wow.
I mean, I was getting here in like 30 minutes, like, what? That is impossible, and it just kind of was chaotic in the beginning. So I kind of still trying to understand and wrap my head around explaining it, because it's still kind of like, it was just chaotic, and then everything kind of came to a point where my mom passed away.
Yeah.
And she was the primary caregiver. So I, like, that day, like, I had to become my father's primary caregiver. And at the time, I had just left the company. It was right after the event, actually, that we had done. So I wasn't tied to a company at the time. So I made a decision. I said, I'm not going to, go back into working until I get my dad's, situated and everything. And which I didn't know what getting him situated meant. I had no idea, I mean, I kind of had started doing things because thankfully I had the wealth management background.
Yeah.
So back then I was doing estate planning for high net worth customers, and you think high net worth, you think, oh, I don't need to do what they do, but starting to take care of my father, I realized, okay, you do need to do whatever they're doing. It's not about, how much money you have. It's more about protecting yourself, your assets, your legacy, your everything. So I kind of started making links between my wealth management and the caregiving and for my father, and just kind of started calling on my old contacts and connecting with people that, I knew these things, and I hadn't been in the business for such a long time. Where do I start? My license, actually, I was still licensed. So actually at that time, I was. So my mother passed. But I let the licenses go lapse because I was like, I can't manage all of this.
Yeah.
So I spent a year not working technically, but I had to make money. So I kind of still was working freelancing in the event world.
Yeah.
So so that happened for a while, and then I ended up going into pharmaceutical event management.
I remember. Sorry, not trying to cough on camera, but
that's okay.
We have high allergies today, and all of a sudden just something came in, and it's like, whoa.
Yeah.
So anyway, continue, please.
Yeah, no problem. No, we have them here too. So
yeah.
But yeah, now I forgot which part I was at.
Well, you were talking about the pharmaceutical management.
Oh, right, pharma.
Yeah. Which was kind of perfect. I remember you and I talking at the time. It was, gave you the flexibility for virtual, right? And that was before people were like, hey, virtual is a thing, right?
Yeah, so, exactly.
And you could be there with your dad, but at the same time, the thing I remember was that you were hustling. You were doing stuff early morning before he would, get up and need, care, and then you'd get him situated and settled, and then you'd be back on, the phone, organizing and, creating the event experiences for them, which was, you were super good at it, and you were able to be successful at that, and it was kind of the perfect opportunity at the time, if my memory serves me
Oh,
correctly.
definitely. It
Yeah.
definitely was. And it also was something new to learn. And so I think as caregivers, we're focused on just the patient care, and
Yeah.
you tend not to have an outlet outside of the care.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so for me, the outlet was event planning.
Yeah.
And thankfully, again, getting into pharma meeting planning allowed me to learn something new. So I'm like, I didn't even know there was this whole other event business.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
I was only thinking, I guess I didn't even know what I was thinking about conference events in general, but
Yeah.
it kind of opened my mind and career, thankfully, up to even more possibilities. And I think also too, in terms of the caregiving, I started taking the approach of caregiving like I take with events. You
Yeah.
know, I had to plan the day.
Yep.
You have your run a show. You had, so I kind of was mimicking a lot of things that I do naturally at work, and when I was caregiving, I had schedules.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember you and I talking about that. Yep. Yep.
Yes, I had because I had home health. I had 3 to 4 home health days rotating in my house,
Yeah.
helping me. So I wasn't not doing it alone, definitely. But I of course had to provide them with a living wage. Of
Yeah.
course,
Yeah.
while I was trying to get money for myself and to take care of all the bills and manage my dad's retirement incomes and
Yeah.
such. So I kind of took the same approach into organizing everything to just make sure everything kind of tried to work smoothly. But
Yeah.
like events, caregiving, it just doesn't. Your day, you wake up and okay, today's not a good day.
Yeah.
Today's a good day.
Yeah.
Okay, or we have to go to the doctor. This happened, and that same idea of remaining calm, which I would say I did not do all the time in caregiving. But I learned that calmness from my dad. He was
Yeah.
always very even keeled. Like if he got angry or riled up, it was like, whoa, something is,
Something big's going on.
but he would always, God bless him, he would have strokes and literally just say, I think I'm having like he was just so calm. One of the doctors were like, I don't understand. You're sure you're like, they'd be freaking out, and he'd be like, why is
Yeah.
it so crazy around me?
Yeah.
I'm like, because we're going into emergency surgery. He was just the
Wow.
calmest person, and I kind of, got that from him. I definitely think. So yeah.
Well, so with the experience, right? You were just telling me when we connected earlier this week about a ripple that you were able to provide for another family, by way of your dad's bed, right? Could you tell a little bit about that story?
Yeah, yeah. After my father passed in January, I was looking to donate the items that were left behind. One of
Yeah.
which was his hospital bed, and medical supplies for caregivers is something that is very, very, very difficult. And
Yeah.
if you do get them, they may not be the right type, or you have to pay for it, and it becomes a financial strain when
Yeah.
it's a personal need or requirement, I would
Yeah.
say. So I had been just trying, and I called organizations. I put notes on Facebook. I put notes on Nextdoor app. I don't know if anyone used that. I love the Nextdoor app. I put it on there. And nothing.
Wow.
I even had family members from out of state that do social work and work in this field in another state, and said, look, I know how to do this.
Yep.
You don't know. And then she was like, I don't know what's going on, we can't get rid of this. So, and for me it was part of like mental health too. I'm staying in a home, and it's when you're mourning, you don't kind of want to see that every
Yeah.
day.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think. makes it more difficult. So long story short, I just, one night I was like, I really need to get like move this bed. And I cleaned it off. I was like, let me wipe it down, make it look nice and shiny, and I took some nice new pictures and I put them on Facebook, and I just was honest as I could be. I said, look, for my mental health, I really need to have this bed out of my house. I miss my father, but it's very hard, but I really wanted to go to a caregiver that needs it, because I remember, and I'll never forget how hard it was to get any kind of, just, I'm thankfully I got the bed from the VA, and I definitely thank the VA for that. And my dad was a Vietnam veteran, and I definitely thank the VA for the help, the VA in Lyons, New Jersey, for the help that they provided in getting that bed. But the VA does not take beds back. So they give, but they don't take, they give, which is a good thing if you think about it, kind of, because that means veterans are always getting new products, items that they need. So this bed was fairly new, and I posted on Facebook, and I said, look, this is what I need. And my friend from way back in the day, she went to her aunt's house, and her aunt said, can you help me put mom in bed, grandma in bed? And she's like, oh, sure. And then her aunt was like cranking this bed, and she's like, what in the world is this?
Old school hospital bed.
Okay, you're in the bed. I just can't imagine it. And so she inboxes me on Facebook and say, hey, look, what's up with that bed? And I'm like, it's all yours. We're going to strategize the rest of the week. That is all we're going to do. And of course, like the event planner and me, I had a to-do list. I had everything labeled,
It was a coordinated effort. Yes.
Yeah. Every day I called her with updates.
I'm so shocked.
I'm like, we nailed down the time. Like every day I would call her, we nailed down the time. But it was just so powerful when I met her and we moved the bed. It wasn't emotional for me.
Sure.
I wasn't anticipating it being emotional, but it definitely was. I cried all weekend, which is not a bad thing. But it was kind of like another saying goodbye, but also it was tears of joy because her mom loved the bed. It fit perfectly.
Yeah.
And most importantly, the caregiver is not cranking this bed.
Yeah.
I just, and then when I saw the bed, the crank, I was like, we have to get this bed out of here.
Yeah.
And just to hit the button. And just a simple change like that
that's huge for them, right? It's a huge improvement.
Huge. So, and we're keeping in touch. We talked yesterday. We're going to keep in touch, and because I have more items here, that I definitely want to go to the caregiver that needs it, and it was just a blessing to be able to do that.
That's awesome. Well, you're a blessing to them for sure to do that. The thing that really stuck out to me, and I thought about it all week, was how you had said, here's this person that I haven't been in contact with forever, but it was kind of like the randomness of your post at that time. She saw it, knew that there was a need, and reached out, and then you guys reconnect. And then from there, even in addition to the bed, you guys have had conversations about, certain things that you did for your dad, like to keep him up and keep him alert and keep him active, that you've been able to transfer some of that knowledge and experience to them, right?
Yeah, definitely. And she's actually also come up with some great things. I'm like, I wish I would have thought of that. Yeah. So just the idea of just me sharing with her, my experience, and letting her know that she's not alone, and that there are resources, and that there's someone out there who's crazy enough to call all the organizations and try to find an answer to this one question. Like, this can't be possible,
Yeah.
Because I just believe that people caring for their parents or caring for someone that they always need more help. And they don't really know. I know I didn't really know how to say, like, I need help. It's almost like it was evident, but it was, like you said earlier, like I said, if no one can do it, I'm gonna have to do it. That was kind of my attitude. and my situation. But that's her situation as well. And just in talking with her, it's like helping me understand the greater need here.
Yep.
Like
Yep.
she was paying money for that crank bed.
Yeah.
And COVID has changed a lot too with these things. I mean, she was paying $13 for Medicare for that bed, but and everyone's situation is different. Maybe someone gets a free bed that's not crank, everyone. But see, these are the things
Yeah.
that caregivers need help with, and knowing, when do I push? When
Yeah.
do I ask the question? And should I have that? And okay, but if I should have that, how do I go about getting the required paperwork? And do you need a doctor's note for that?
Yeah.
I mean, because that's what I had to do with my dad with the VA. I did not. I mean, before my mother passed away, that year we were trying to access the VA because I had remembered. Now here's another ripple.
Yeah.
When I was in wealth management, I had my first bout with entrepreneurship. I left a merit prize. I can say because it's on my LinkedIn. It's not like a secret. But I left the merit prize and I went and worked at Elite Capital Management, which was an independent firm started by Cordelia Donovan. And I worked with her, and I just remember saying, like, I was like, I need to print something. And she's saying, like, well, you're an entrepreneur, like, buy a printer. Like, she literally said that. I always say entrepreneurs say that, but like, she had to literally say it to me.
It's time.
I bought a printer.
You've hit that level of success. You can afford that $400 printer.
Exactly. But our office partners, I don't know, let's say assistant, because Miss Lily was working there with us and helping Cordelia with the business. And she and I got to talking one day, and come to find out her daughter was my mother's student in high school. My mom was an English teacher at Broadway High School for 40 years. So she's like, wait, you're Mrs. Batts' daughter? Oh my gosh. And her daughter was like, I love Mrs. Batts. I love her, love her, love her. And so I think I had been talking that day about, like, I thought that he was a veteran. I thought there were benefits. And she's like, hold on. Tell your dad to call this number and do whatever the lady says. And and he did. And he got 100% service connected way back then. But I did not know what 100% service connected meant. So that was like, I don't know, 2008.
Yeah.
So for over 10 years, he was service connected. So right before my mother passed, I was starting to get to that point where, like, oh, this is what it means. Oh, these are okay. And then unfortunately she passed away. But another friend of mine, I was at a dinner party right before she passed away, another ripple.
Yeah.
And I was telling my other friend about it, and she's like, you need to meet this lady who's a nurse at the VA. She'll connect the dots for you. Wow. And I called the lady a day after my mom passed away, and I said, I cannot do this. I need the help of the VA. I don't know where to start. And she kind of did another one of those, call this number and do what the lady says. I don't know if it's military talk.
Yeah. But it works.
Yep, I did it. And I just remember going into to see Dr. West, and then she's like, he doesn't have a RAM. Why is he paying for this? And then just everything we needed started to kind of fall into place. So
that's awesome.
It was just like a ball of ripples.
That's
my caregiving story.
Gives me goosebumps just thinking about it. I mean, if you think about it, and that ripple actually started all the way back with your mom and how she treated that young lady as a student, right? And how and what kind of impression that made on her that carried all those years later. And then that ripple kind of ripples back, right? It comes back to the circle. And so that's what a great story, and amazing outcomes because of just the circumstances, the way they worked out. That's awesome. Thank you for sharing that. I'm curious, for people that are maybe, finding themselves in that role as caregiver or trying to navigate those waters, a couple of things that I heard from you is, find people like yourself that have the information, that have been there, done that, because it solves a lot of headaches, because you're not figuring it out because somebody probably has done it for you. There's services that are out there that you should really connect to. I think that one of the things that I've noticed specifically around the situation with my dad is that it's interesting, but not a lot of people will actually step forward and help unless you're really willing to come forward and ask first, right?
Yeah.
You like you said earlier, it's like, well, I thought it was obvious, but at the end of the day, it's an uncomfortable situation for a lot of people that either haven't been through it or maybe did, and it was a really traumatic experience. And so some people won't necessarily volunteer it, but almost always when you ask somebody for help and you say, hey, look, I don't know if you can help me here, but this is what I'm struggling with, or this is what I need. Almost everybody always wants to just gravitate right to that point to say, well, look, I can't help you, but I know somebody who can. Or, hey, we went through this. Let me tell you what we did. Right.
Mm-hmm.
So, is there anything that you would, give in terms of guidance or advice for a new caregiver, aside from those things that you think are just like, oh, now if I had known that, it would have been a way different scenario?
I think one definitely would be to link with the therapist
Yeah.
early as possible. If you are able to do so. I definitely think that was key, because keeping myself mentally
Yeah.
healthy and then when I wasn't, having the therapist there to help me through those ups and downs
Yeah.
was very key. I mean, a therapist is also your link to organizations. So if you're not understanding or not able to or don't know where to start in terms of looking for help, that's kind of the outlet where the therapist medic, I guess, because they have to
Yeah.
by the nature of their what they do, how do we help this person, and can help you link to organizations that can help you with different resources if that's what you need.
Yeah.
But I would definitely say that. And I would the other thing I would say was it was just tell everyone.
Yeah.
I mean, my parents were very private people, so they didn't tell anybody.
Yeah.
So it was only like some people knew my dad was sick. Some people knew my mom had some things. They knew I had to leave work sometimes.
Yeah.
I never really. My parents were like, "Shh, don't tell anybody." We don't
Yeah.
want to know. And I think it was a pride thing.
Sure.
But I got to the point where I just told everybody.
Yeah.
Like, because I'm like, I don't know how to ask for the help. I just need someone to kind of hear what I'm saying and just say, this is how I can help you,
Yeah. No, that's great
and so
advice.
if you don't know how to ask, or just blab it out. I
Yeah.
mean, hopefully it's to the right people, but I mean, because I told everyone, and that's how Miss Lily, we got to talk about my dad, and
Yeah.
that's how at the dinner party I met the lady who ended up giving me everything I needed through the VA for my dad, or connecting me
Yeah.
where I needed. Even I mean, there's so many ripples in that caregiving story that I'm like, I don't want to take up too much time, but I mean, even down to the woman doing my estate taxes now, or taxes for the
Yeah.
house. She's we went to middle school and high school together.
Wow. Wow. That's awesome.
Even my financial advisor, like he was actually, he and I worked at Ameriprise together, and we did our first event at Circle of Sisters. And it was my first conference. I got a booth and everything, and I was like gung ho about this, and he got on with me, and he called me out of the blue, and I'm like, I need a financial advisor, and I need someone who knows that I used to do this and not try to sell me
Yeah. Yeah.
and kind of work with me more so. And we're working together now,
That's
I mean, it's
awesome.
just so many ripples.
Yeah.
I'm so excited about it.
That's
It's what I'm so
cool.
passionate about, you and the ripple effect and the book and everything, I mean, even back to Austin, going back there, where that ripple started with Marion,
Yeah.
and she and I are friends. I forgot how that started, but
Yeah. Yeah. Way
but we were
back when.
friends.
Yeah.
And she said, "Hey," I'm like, "I'm doing an event in Austin, and and I don't know where to start. And she's like, call this guy Steve. I think he'll help you. And the next thing I know, I had an event, I had a speaker, you,
Yeah. Yeah.
and we had people there because I'm like, I don't know anybody in Austin. Don't worry about it. Go here, do that. And, almost like someone said, call Steve and just do everything he says.
I might need that on a billboard someday.
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly. But
well, I
it
mean,
was amazing.
it's a perfect segue because I've got a couple of Ripple Connection questions that I want to ask you because they're just, I think they're extremely insightful and a great way to kind of wrap up, just this really amazing interview. I mean, you're phenomenal. I'm just such a huge fan. But here's one for you. So, what is the best thing that you could hear a friend, family member, client, or colleague say about you?
The best thing
Yeah.
that I made them feel happy and loved.
Oh, that's great. I love that.
Yeah.
No doubt that you do that often. So, what is the best piece of advice you've ever received, and how do you continue to apply it?
Be a forever learner.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah. I mean, my mom was an educator. My dad, he wasn't an educator, but he was the one who told me you need to always read the instructions of everything. Like I don't care. I know men don't read instructions, but we'd buy electronics and sit down with coffee and read instructions and learn something new.
Yeah.
And I'm like that to this day. I love learning.
That's awesome.
I love learning about people, learning about things, people, places, things, everything.
Yeah.
So
definitely. So what, just, kind of a side question, but what did your dad do for a living?
He was an engineer, like an auto mechanic.
Okay.
So he worked on forklifts in New Jersey, everywhere. Everyone.
Yeah.
He was up and down the highway all the time, in and out of different warehouses, and that was one thing everyone loved him everywhere he went.
Yep.
And he could fix anything, like anything, because he read all the instructions.
Yeah, I was gonna say there's a connection there for sure.
You take that and you do this, it's probably gonna work because of this, that, and the other. So
yeah. Oh, that's awesome. I love that. Well, so I have one final question for you, but what does the ripple effect actually mean to you?
Oh wow, so many things. I think it's the power of the ripple for me, to create change.
Yeah.
And much needed change when it happens, whenever it happens. And I don't mean change in a bad way. I mean just shifting the energy of some situation or outcome, without the actual initial intent, or manipulation of the outcome. So just kind of the power of it all, knowing that, but not going into it saying I'm going to do this because I know a ripple's coming.
Yeah. Or get something out of it. Yeah.
Yeah, not in that sense, but knowing that just living your life, being nice to people, and trying to help where you can, and just knowing that it helps kind of, that when you need it, you'll have that assistance as well. Yeah.
That's awesome. Well, I know you're about to embark on a new path for your career. Can you give us just a real quick insight as to what you're going to be doing and what you're most excited about this new job you're about to start?
Well, I'll be starting as the campaign and events manager at Sampled. And they're in Piscataway, New Jersey. And I'm really excited because they're just rebranding and kind of shifting where they're at in the market. And it's going to be really amazing because we have an opportunity to build a new vision for them and the marketplace, or a new space, I'll say. It's exciting. It's just very exciting. I'm really excited. I kind of don't even know what to say. Because I'm just really excited. It's going to be a really great team, and it's it'll kind of give me an ability to do a little bit of everything that I do. Connecting with people, working with sales teams, we're doing events, and I'll get to travel.
That's awesome. Yeah. Well, they're darn lucky to have you. I guarantee you, because you're going to bring, this enthusiasm and excitement like you've done for everything that I've ever seen you do. But, you have this infectious quality that I think as you're looking to, and I know one of the pieces of your new job opportunity you mentioned was trying to inspire the sales team to look outside the box, do some things differently, get out there and connect. And they couldn't have hired somebody more qualified and ready for the task ahead, because you are phenomenal at that. And so I'm super super excited, and I think they're going to be super grateful to have your skill sets and your ability, because you have that infectious quality about you. Anybody that watches this or even just hears the audio version of this can hear that enthusiasm in your voice. And then when they see you, you have to get on the YouTube. If you happen to catch this on a podcast platform, jump over to the YouTube channel, find this video, because you'll see Candace for who she is as an individual. And it's just ear to ear smile constantly. And you just make everybody's day better. And so I am truly grateful that we connected over that event. We were smart enough to stay in contact and become friends. And
yes.
I am so very proud of you for everything that you've done. And I know your parents are looking down at you and so proud of how you've handled everything. And you are an inspiration. In case anybody is curious about, getting in contact with you, maybe to talk about caregiving or, event management, or just, because they just think you're a badass, because you are, and want to be connected to you. How might they go about doing that? Do you have social, networks that you'd be comfortable sharing, or your LinkedIn, or what?
Yeah, I mean, my LinkedIn, I'm Candice Batts.
And that's Batts with 2 T's. Yeah.
Yes, 2 T's, and I'm an I, Candace with an I.
Yeah. Yeah.
And on Instagram for caregiving, I'm Caregiving Candace, and that's caregiving.
Yeah.
Without the G.
Yeah.
Candace next to that.
That's awesome. Well, I think people should absolutely follow what you're doing, because you are inspirational, and you're certainly somebody that I think a lot of people would benefit from knowing, and just being just exposed to everything you're doing out there in the world, all the great ripples that you're continuing to create. And I'm just so grateful that you came on the Ripple Effect podcast.
Thank you so much, Steve. And I just have to say, I've worked with a lot of speakers. You're still by far the #1 speaker. Because I always feel like, just really quick, events, it's about emotion, and it's about bringing something out of the attendees. And we were all crying. Yes, we had audio problems, but that did not stop the ripple.
Yeah.
And it was just, I remember saying, I get chills thinking about that day, and I just can't wait to work with you again.
Thank you. I feel the exact same. I really appreciate you saying that. It was one of, it's been a highlight of my career to be able to do that for you, not just because of the event, because the event was fun, but just because the relationship it led to. So
definitely.
Well, listen, you take care. And as always, ripple on.
Yes, definitely.